This week on Arizona Illustrated, the making of the U of A College of Science lecture series. A story of loss, hope, and finding a new home. Grasslands, wetlands, and wildlife only 60 miles from downtown. And the NFL in Arizona from the vault. Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. For over a decade, the University of Arizona College of Science has brought together educators and researchers from the college to share their passion and discoveries with the community. The UA College of Science Lecture Series has become an extremely popular annual event and an opportunity to peer into the world of some of our region's most exciting and important scientists. Here's a glimpse into what it takes to bring this series to you.
I'm about to give a really fantastic lecture about the ocean's role in climate. I give talks in a lot of different locations, but doing it at home is a little more nerve-wracking. So I'm going to try to do my best to do a really good job. We're going to nail it. Where am I supposed to be, Joaquin? Can I just follow you around?
Good evening. Yes, that wasn't bad.
Right after the lecture, don't go and go behind stage.
Well, it's a full house.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And you know, it's also streamed.
Holy crap. I'll knock him dead for you.
The first time we did it was now 11 years ago. The first year was an enormous success. We never expected to have the 500 people show up for the first lecture. And we immediately moved to Centennial Hall, and the rest of it is history. We've just been trying to keep creating good programs, which obviously our community appreciates. We've had a couple of lecture series on mind and brain and things of that sort. Cosmology, space science, this community just loves that. We had one on genomics, and people loved that one too. We did global climate change 10 years ago. And we thought that it would be a good time to do it again, and then the Paris talks made it even more timely. So this lecture series, as you well know, that the theme of it, or the title of it, is Earth Transformed. I have a committee that was sort of self-assembled since day one. It was, as I said, when we were talking about evolution and whatnot. And that committee has sort of stuck around. Every year we sit down and we talk about a grand challenge of science that the community would like to know and which we think is important. We come up with a title, and then I go on my Rolodex and I go and figure out who are the best faculty members that could address the issues of the lecture series. Hello, I'm Joaquin Ruiz, Dean of the University of Arizona's College of Science, and this is Arizona Science. With me here today is Russell Monson. What's your view of the fate of the Amazon as a function of global climate change?
Well, biologically, the Amazon is struggling. The effects of some of the climate extremes we've had, the drought extremes that we've seen in the western U.S. I started thinking about this lecture back in November, and it's occupied most of my time for the last 2.5 months or so.
I think I'm mostly ready to go. There's still some tweaking that I need to get done, but I am definitely getting there.
You know, I always wait until the last minute to wrap things up, but I've got a lot of good ideas, I think.
Are you ready to go?
Not quite. Mine is at the end of February, so I have a bit of time to still practice and get ready. You know, sometimes you just got to get in a room and throw around hypotheses and figure out where you want to go and what's out of scope and what could be in. We had a good time.
Hello?
Joellen?
Hi, Bo.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well.
Good.
Bo is the one that gets all the ducks in a row, and she's a producer. Without her, it would never work, because the logistics behind these things are enormous. It's up to you. You do it, however you want to do it. So Bo is the one that gets everybody engaged. She's the one that keeps the train on the tracks. She's been absolutely extraordinary since day one.
It's an orchestra. There's just so many players in the orchestra, and you just begin to pull them all together. At this point, it's become a pretty well-oiled machine. It really works beautifully. Everybody knows their part. The day of, is actually pretty calm because everything's in place. There's not much you can do at that point, and it's just ready to go.
Good. Are you all ready for tonight? You need anything?
Oh no, I'm great. Anything for you, Bo.
Oh, thank you, Joellen. We're looking forward to it.
Why? Why are things happening especially in this very unique? Notice, look at the rest of the global ocean. It's warming, but it's happening here. This ketchup, bloody ketchup in the Southern Ocean part, this is where the big action's happening. How are we actually putting so much heat into the global ocean? We're putting it in through the window. But generally, we're in the dry zone. We're in that downwelling air of the Hadley cell where it comes down, and that's why we have a desert here.
One of the reasons that I think our lectures are so extraordinary is because all of the lecturers agree, and this for faculty members you may imagine is not easy, they agree to do dry runs.
And my committee gave me such a hard time about just that one little estimate. Turns out now we're pulling from 2,800 meters or more. And it's because the winds have intensified around Antarctica as associated with global climate change.
I think how you're communicating right now, though, Julian, is exactly how you should be communicating when you talk. Because you're not talking like that in your talk. Like what you just said right there, I'm like, that's it.
That if you start with
That's
that,
how
with
you
that
should be
attitude,
talking.
You're perfect.
You're kind of motoring, you know.
So that by the time that they stand up in front of the 2,000 people that show up at Centennial Hall, it's really a very polished lecture.
I think what we all want to make sure is when the audience gets to your focal point about talking about the modeling and why it's so important and what it can mean for us, we need the audience to care. We need the audience to be really prepped to say, oh, wow, that's going to make a difference. That's why she does this. That's why she's so passionate about it.
I would consider flipping the order of your topics and putting the Paris talks, the uncertainties, and the need for verification at the front end. A, it's time relevant. Everybody's just heard about Paris, so it brings them right into what's something that's current.
You're totally right.
B, it sets up why the uncertainties are important, why we need to verify, and takes you right into why you need the observations and models to get better.
Please help me out, because wow, I had no idea I needed so much help.
Good evening, everybody. I thank you all for coming. As you all know, I keep saying every year, the only reason we keep doing this is because you keep coming. And the reason you keep coming is because we live in an amazing community with folks like you that are interested in education, and we're interested in giving you what we can. So thank you. I think it's just Tucson is just the best place in the world. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce a colleague and a friend, Joellen Russell.
You have no idea how much I love being introduced by Joaquin.
Catch the UA Science Lecture Series Mondays at 7 p.m. at Centennial Hall through March 7th. And they're also streamed live and available on our website, azpm.org. According to a recent article in the New York Times, of the 4.5 million people who have fled the Syrian war, fewer than 3,000 have been taken in by the United States. Each of these people have stories of what and who they left behind, of an often treacherous and painful journey, and of trying to start a new life. Next, we share the story and the music of a Syrian family who now call Tucson home.
Syria. Unrest begins in early spring 2011, with protests and crackdowns. The conflict evolves into an all-out civil war. Multiple factions and countries engage the fight. More than 200,000 people are killed over the course of the war. Nearly 5 million flee their homes and seek refuge. Neighboring nations grapple with the mass exodus, and countries around the globe consider their role in the refugee crisis. The war rages on. Fadi Iskandar and Tamara Hachatrian met before the war at the Arabic Music Institute in Aleppo, Syria. They were music teachers at the school. Both grew up in families where music was important, and they learned to play a variety of instruments, including the violin.
My father bought for me a small keyboard when I was 4 years old.
Fadi was already teaching at the institute when 20-year-old Tamara joined the faculty. He was 27.
She worked there. We worked together. She was the next door teacher.
So we start to talk about music and stuff, and after we find some interesting duets and start to practice together. And I start like, this person very interesting for me and very comfortable. And after it turns more and more maybe love, yeah.
That love soon turned to engagement. They married in Holy Cross Catholic Church in Aleppo. Fadi's mother Nadia and his father George, a deacon in the church, came to the wedding. Tamara's parents were unable to travel from Armenia, where she was born.
For a young girl, it's like very excited, a very happy day. And we went after that to honeymoon to Beirut. It was very fun and very, very interesting, very interesting.
They continued to teach music and violin and played concerts together, traveling and performing. Years later, they were blessed with a child, a daughter they named Angelina. She was baptized and life was good. That is until the Syrian civil war crept ever closer.
Very, very, very dangerous. And you know, for the civil war, you don't know from where the danger comes. If with other war, just the soldier fight, but the civil war, you don't know.
For Fadi Iskandar and his family, everything has changed. For civilians caught in the crossfire, life as they knew it is over.
All the people there, they miss the country. Especially for me, I am a musician, you know. I need happy people to play for them. The violin has been for me like a magic. Without this, there is no any flavor for the life. Without music or without smile, sharing food with other people. Social, you know, we love this.
Music and playing the violin is what brought them together before the fighting began.
Bombs, shooting, you know, dangerous situations. It makes you can't live anymore with that. Maybe if me alone, maybe I can wait a little more, but I fret too much about Angelina.
Their daughter Angelina was 4 at the time, and the sounds of war were hard to hide.
And sometimes you can't explain what's going on. When she's trying to say, what is that? Shooting or something. Because I don't like to make her stress. So I think it's a birthday party, it's something like that, and she's like, weird. I don't know this birthday party looks like that.
The battle for Aleppo began in July of 2012. The threat to life and liberty was now too close to home.
But I fret too much about Angelina because her school was Christian. They put a car with bombs and wrote, every mother will cry today.
Rescuers were able to find safe passage for the children.
God bless them because they got another the different way outside of the school and they safe. And I decide, you know, it's the child like this age, I don't feel she's safe there.
You can't live 1 second with your family there anymore. For this, I want to leave the country. It's dangerous, too dangerous.
Fadi, Tamara, and Angelina fled Syria in late 2012. They found their way to Tucson and are in the United States on visas. They've been seeking asylum for the past 3 years.
It's hard because, I have their house, work, friends, family, relatives, students.
2 years ago, they welcomed a second daughter into the world, Susanna.
The little one, Susanna, she's my angel. I want to play with her all the time.
Fadi and Tamara still play their violins together, like they did when they first met. They've learned a new language and culture, and they say Tucson has welcomed them.
I'm so lucky because I got here good church, good people, good friends, my job and good kids, and my family, it's everybody, it's safe. Now I feel my second place, it's here. It's like kind of my second homeland, yes.
But they will always remember their life in Syria and those they had to leave behind.
And there is one also good, very good woman in Aleppo, my mom. I still remember her all the time. She's great. Can't stop. I think she's happy because I am here. I think it is very good for her. She's more happy than I stay there.
Now safe in their new community, they look to the future and what it may hold.
I think everything in God's hands because I believe too much to God. Maybe one day every people understand because we are all as human. Maybe they can just stop. Just stop. I will hope for not only for my family, I hope for everybody in the world peace. I wish peace in every world. Kindness, little, how I say, music.
Like what you see on Arizona Illustrated? Visit our webpage at azpm.org to watch and share videos from this episode. You'll also find stories from future programs, an easy way to submit your own story idea, an archive of past episodes of Arizona Illustrated, and you'll find everything you need to stay connected with public broadcasting in Southern Arizona. azpm.org. Arizonans have shaped the land over the years to grow food, extract resources, and to provide space to build our towns and cities. We have also chosen to set aside areas in order to ensure a natural habitat for wildlife and visitors in search of an unmanicured outdoor experience. About 60 miles from Tucson is one such place, the Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge.
The refuge here is about 118,000 acres. It was established in 1985 for the purpose of protecting and managing semi-desert grasslands as well as endangered species, with the emphasis on the masked bobwhite quail. It's a highly endangered bird. We have the captive flock that we have on refuge is comprised of about 99% of the entire species. It's just a beautiful, unique place, removed from the city, wide open public land for anybody to visit. Because this was an old ranch, there is a big network of roads for people to travel, and they are all public roads. We have a large hunt program in conjunction with Arizona Game and Fish, and so a lot of hunters come down here. But also, it's a very popular bird watching refuge. The Arivaca Cienega is probably the hot spot for the refuge because it has water and a nice trail and boardwalk, and a lot of people go there.
This is an important bird area. The entire refuge is designated as an important bird area, just like Madeira Canyon and so forth. And you get a huge diversity of birds. A lot of activity here.
He's checking it out. Well, I've been associated with the Arivaca Watershed Education Task Force for many years. And we study the water resource of Arivaca in the basin we live in, which is a kind of isolated little basin from which we all draw our water. And really the entirety of the basin funnels down to this area of the Cienega and creates a beautiful wetland with usually a flowing stream through it. And it's a wonderful place with big cottonwoods and wonderful riparian area. Startling things can happen. You can walk around here and see bobcats, mountain lions, javelina, really rare birds like gray hawks. All kinds of different things that you really can't see even a mile away.
It is a surprising place. I've decided it's a truly wild place due to the fact that the refuge limits how many people can come in. You can see birds, animals, and plants being themselves. They're relatively undisturbed. The canyon is so pristine and biodiverse. We're at the northern edge of a lot of Mexican species, also birds and plants. So you see things in here you don't see in Tucson. This is 20 miles north of the border, and the ecosystem is significantly different here.
You got mountains, you got grasslands, you got the bajadas coming off from the mountains, you got forests like this, the Cienega. And as any ecologist knows, when you have the addition of water, particularly in the desert, you get a massive amount of other things, you get the diversity, both on the flat and in the air.
It's amazing to me what lives here and the diversity, how much plant life and animal life is out here, and the adaptations they have to survive out here. It never ceases to amaze me.
I think of it as a backyard. It's great to have a lot of public land around, land that you can just access very quickly and walk around and have a real natural experience and walk for hours, even days.
I feel it is a strong privilege to work here as a volunteer. I keep learning, I keep experiencing. I love sharing what I do know with them. The ranching history stories are very interesting, and I always remind them that most of them own this land. This is their land indeed, because it's federal land. So I remind them of that and encourage them to appreciate conserving it. And they do, and many come back.
For more information about the Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge, visit the Arizona Illustrated webpage at azpm.org. The Cardinals are out of it, but it could be worse. There was a time when Arizona didn't even have an NFL team, as we'll see in this episode of From the Vault.
With nearly 70,000 turning out for a meaningless preseason game, make no mistake, Arizona wants the National Football League.
This is certainly proof that we're ready for an expansion team, and of course that's our thoughts. This is a good example, and we're looking forward to hoping to be the ones who get the nod for the next expansion team.
In order for Arizona to land a team, A team of investors must first ante up an estimated $50 to $75 million and then be ready to accept $3 million in losses each year for the first 10 years of the franchise. A spokesman for Arizona NFL expansion, the group trying to lure a team to the desert, says ideally it would like to have a team in place by 1989, but more realistically says 1990 will probably be the year. Sun Devil Stadium is where it would like to call home, but if a deal cannot be worked out with Arizona State, the group has plans to build its own stadium. The team would play under the Arizona and not the Phoenix banner, and probably in the National Football Conference Western Division, along with the Rams and the 49ers.
I hope that they get the franchise. I mean, it'd be great for the state, really good for the city.
No name has been selected so far. While Firebirds was initially considered, the Phoenix AAA baseball franchise has already snatched up that name, and a contest to name the Phoenix franchise will probably be held. The only question now that remains is not whether or not Arizona will get an NFL franchise, but rather when Arizona will join the National Football League.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. Next week, stories from the Boneyard, a look at mental health in Tucson's Black community, a profile of artist Tiree Fowler Chapman, and it's Condom Week from the Vault. I'm Tom McNamara. See you next week.